in case you missed the sign. All right. Second thing, there will be no waitress service in here. So if you want some food or you want some drink, please head out to the bar and we'll take care of it. All right, and then go ahead and transfer in and out. So with that, I'm gonna hand it over to Rod to introduce himself. Rod?
I'm Rod Charles. I'm a township trustee. I keep an eye on Jack Curtis, who's hiding in the back of the room. I'm also the chairperson of the Downtown Development Authority, or DDA, if we use that acronym. I'll introduce a few other people, by the way. My wife in the back here, Karen Charles. Karen talked about, a little bit louder is okay. She talked, there you go, Mike. Mike was principal while she was there, so he can clap with authority. And Tom Hoover is helping. Tom was a class of '69 from Oxford High School?
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah, a couple years ago. And then Justin Wilcock, back here by the door, hiding back there. And if you haven't noticed, Justin and Michael are both candidates for Oakland County Commissioner. So if there's any fighting breaks out, we've got some body breaks here. Okay? And then we've got, let's see, our friends from OCTV over here, Kyle with the camera. And, oh, I'm sorry, Brad Jacobson, otherwise known as Santa Claus. Brad, would you stand up, please?
I am going to be the timer, and I talked to some of you earlier, you've got my mic machine. So when there's 15 seconds left, I will give you a thumbs up. When your time's up, I'll give you a stop. Finish your thought, but keep it short because we've got a lot of people to cover tonight. So thank you very much. Class of 75.
Thank you,
So Tom Hoover has seniority. Okay. On the questions, by the way, if you write the questions down, Karen, Tom, and Justin are taking a look at them. So if you have a question, a card that you're filling out now, if you just raise your hand and someone can pick it up and bring it to them, they'll bring it up here, okay? And we ask questions, we'll rotate it as well. So it's not the same person going the first time every time.
We'll do our best we must get once in a while.
Alphabetical order or something like that. Anything else?
And just a couple other protocol things. You know, we're here. This is not a debate. This is not a debate. We're here to hear from the candidates. Rod and I will read your questions to the candidates. They'll answer them. So we ask for everybody to be cordial. You know, let's listen to their answers. We all want to hear what they have to say. So let's listen to what they have to say. So with that, Rod, do you want to hand it off? Or?
I'll hand it off to in front of your body. We'll see what do we have next on our agenda? Our invitation.
Yes, well, my name is Bobby. We reached out to Mr. Charles a week or so ago and just said, hey, I thought that it would be good for us to open this evening with prayer. And I understand that not everyone here might believe in God and believe in prayer, but I think what we all agree with is that our community is hurting. We've gone through something that's pretty shocking, and we're trying to heal through that. And so, for me as a person, a human, I want to be involved. I want to help in any way that I know how to truly help us and pray to my God. And so if you guys would join me with that, I'd appreciate that. Heavenly Father, Lord, we call out to you this evening. Lord, our community is hurting. Lord, we've gone through something unimaginable about a year ago now. And Lord, the people here want to help. They want to come together, Lord, and I believe it's only through you that we can do that. Lord, tonight we come together to think about the schools, the teachers, the admin, the school board members, the students, the parents. Lord, all these people in this community that love each other, love this place, love the schools. Lord, we call out to you this evening that you would come down, that it would be your spirit that would work in this place, that would work in this community to heal it. Lord, I believe fully that we need unity in this community. And through that unity, Lord, that we would experience peace, that we would understand what hope is. And Lord, I just pray and I ask that, again, that you would work through the hearts and the minds and the souls of the people in this community Show us how to love each other. Show us how to treat each other with kindness, with compassion, with grace and mercy. Lord, and it would be through those things that we would unite as a community, that we would understand what peace is and what hope is. And again, Lord, we're praying tonight for the schools as we enter into this upcoming election, Lord. And there's these awesome people that have volunteered their time and their lives, Lord, to serve on the school board. Lord, I work in their lives as well in the next couple months, and those, Lord, that are elected into these positions, Lord, cover them with your grace and your mercy. Lord, they need it. The schools need it. The community needs it. Again, Lord, we're calling out to you tonight that your presence would be known in this community and that we would understand and know what peace is through that. Lord, we love you and thank you. In Jesus' name we pray these things. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Bobby. If I can ask everybody to rise so we can face the flag and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. So with that, I think we will move on to candidates' introductions. And time limit, I think we have 1 minute, Mr. Timekeeper? 1.5 minutes, okay. So we'll start at the far end.
James?
James, go for it.
All right, everybody, thank you for showing up today. My name is James Saunders. I'm an Oxford graduate of the class of 2000. I live in the community. I have 3 sons, 1 in the middle school and 2 in the elementary school of Clear Lake. My wife used to be a school teacher here for 10 years, so my last name may seem familiar if you've ever had any involvement with special education. She's a teacher consultant. Myself, I work in IT for a global company, Microsoft. And I've also been a reserve police officer in the community since 2001. Also holding roles of a 911 dispatcher, ordnance officer, and a few other things inside the agency, kind of a little bit of everything. So we've lived in the community since 2007, and really, no stranger to public service. As a reserve police officer, it's unpaid. There's no glory or anything in it. I do it more to serve the community, and really find an inner calling to myself to help people in need and to be there and to kind of be the calm during the storm, I guess maybe back from my dispatching days and such. Thought about doing this a while ago. Now, probably more than ever, as some of our board members have been here for quite a while and are taking a break. And so, opportunity presented itself, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, Amanda?
Hi, my name is Amanda McDonough. I grew up closer. Is that better? Is that better? No. Is it not? It's not. This one's
I
not.
don't think either one.
Oh.
You just talked really well.
I project really well. All right.
Okay then. Thank you.
Work.
All right. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. So anyway, my name is Amanda McDonough. I grew up in and graduated from Lake Orion. I later went on to attain my bachelor's in marketing and communications from the University of Michigan. I am currently a marketing director for an entertainment company that manages bands and books tours locally and nationally. I've been with that company for about 13 years, and I've been an Oxford resident for a little over a decade. Josh and I are incredibly proud to have chosen Oxford as the community to raise our children. I love Oxford, I love the people, and I'm just very excited at the opportunity to serve on the Board of Education. And as a board member, I hope to maintain the values of this community as a representative.
Like Whitney, my wife Heidi and I have been here for about 6 years. We have 6 children and actually a 7th on the way. And so we're excited. We're very invested in the community and obviously the education system as well. So my oldest is 11, and I've got him all the way down almost 2 years coming up. And so I've actually see a lot of familiar faces from coach parents. So I coach everything from baseball to robotics and some flag football as well. So I've done all of that. I've been kind of interacting with the community over the last 6 years, and that, especially with my kids growing up, I want to be investing in their, growth as that, and it helps me get out there in the community as well. I've been a trustee. I'm actually currently a trustee on our church board, and so kind of taking a lot of this different experience. I've been on a board member on the baseball, the Orba board as well. So kind of taking all of that experience. Professionally, I'm an engineer. I work for automotive. So I graduated from Oakland University and with actually biomedical engineering degree, but I work in automotive so that's me.
Mary, why don't you try the first one? Let's see, Teddy.
Hello. My name is Mary Hanser. My family and I live in Leonard. I have 2 Oxford graduates. We've lived there since 2014, and we absolutely love being part of the Oxford community. I am forever a band mom and a robotics mom. Though my kids are out of school, I still follow all those activities. I did a lot of volunteering while the kids were in school, and when the opportunity came up in 2018 to run for the board, I did, and I've been serving on the school board ever since then. Since I came on, I've done all of the training that I could through MASB. I've been learning all along the way how to be a great school board member and a contributor. This is a great way for me to give back to my community. I really care about each and every student, and I think it's important that each and every student and every family, all kinds of families, are represented on the school board. I'm interested in helping this community to move forward and stay with focusing on the students and keeping our students first.
Thank you, Mary. Hi, I'm Mark Miner. I'm a resident of Oxford for the last 30 years. I also have a family of a large family, 7 kids, 16 grandkids, and counting. It kind of works that way. And I've also been a coach for the kids in soccer for a number of years, involved with the community in that regard. Also been involved with the DDA as a musician, playing my guitar with my band. So that was fun over in the gazebo as a warm-up band. I actually graduated from Brandon High School, a neighboring town, a small town back then. Oxford was considered a big town back in those days. Now it's just getting bigger. I used to work for Oakland County Security as a ID technician, dispatcher. Used to take fingerprints. Even went on an investigative journey to look for a crime scene and see how we were going to find the culprit. But then I found out that I needed to make some more money as my family grew. Went to work for Chrysler, now Stellantis, for the last 40 years as a program manager, project chief, and engineer. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andrea Hamilton. I'm one of the write-ins for candidacy for school board. I've lived here since 2005. I have 5 children, blended family with my husband David. My oldest is in college. My middle son is in high school. Our daughter is in the middle school. I have one just starting in DK. So I've got the 3 at each level in the district. And I have one that would have been 2 this September. We lost her to COVID. She's mine and I count her. I have a deep investment in the schools. Obviously, long-term with all the kids and the youngest just starting. I have 2 degrees from Wayne State University in social work. I'm hearing a loud outcry for more mental health perspective, and that's really my background, is in mental health. I have a variety of experiences from Lapeer County Community Mental Health, from working in the schools to the jail, probate court. I did an internship at Crossroads for Youth. I love kids, I love schools. My sister, my cousins, all my best friends are principals, speech pathologists, teachers. I have no agenda except for continuing to support teachers and students in our public education here in Oxford.
Good evening. My name is Brian Eftink. I've lived here in Oxford this is our 4th year in Oxford. I graduated from Grand Valley State University. I'm currently a police officer. I've been a police officer for 20 years as of September 10th. I have 2 children in this school district. My oldest is 8, he's in 2nd grade, and my youngest is 6, she's in 1st grade. We're really involved, they're involved in sports, go Oxford Junior Wildcats. It's his 1st year in football. My daughter, she is a gymnast and a dancer. We've enjoyed our time here. I've lived in Lake Orion, Clarkston, and now Oxford. And of the 3 communities, although all are really good, we love Oxford. We love everything about Oxford. I want to be involved in this school, but more importantly, I want you all to continually be involved in the school. And as a school board member, I think that it's important for parents' involvement, for parents to be heard. And I want that to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Just a technical update. They're telling me those microphones do work. All right, you just have to get closer. You have to get closer to them. Everybody test. They all working? Everyone's working.
10, 9, 8, 7.
James, you want to check that one?
James, how about yours?
Test.
Yeah. Mike. Check. All right. So with that, Rod's going to read the first question.
All right, we'll start with James Summers at the end. I guess there's some logic to that, right? Oh, yeah, not me.
Can I get a seat? Go ahead.
Yeah, we're not going to ask you to sing the Wildcat Fight song, don't worry. We did cheat, we put it on the sheets there. Okay. This first question says, please describe the roles and responsibilities of a school board member. No? Go ahead.
So, there's 3 primary responsibilities as a school board member. Reviewing, updating, creating policies with the teamwork of the superintendent. Budgets for the school district. And then really hiring and firing of the superintendent with reviews and holding them accountable. Some unspoken roles and responsibilities of the school board is being that community voice from the people within the community, listening to all parties involved, everybody that has a vested interest, and making sure that those voices are heard from the administration level. And then also having accountability across the overall operations, working and teaming up with the superintendent of the schools.
Okay, Amanda?
Well, James covered that quite well. So there are 3 primary functions of the board, which I think we're all familiar with, and James went over. But really what I think it boils down to, their number 1 responsibility is to listen to the community, to take in what the community wants, what they're asking for, when it comes to making decisions on policies, valuing that input, because, you know, it takes a team, and we stress that to our kids all the time, at home, in the district, that the teamwork is so very important, and there are often times that you tackle a problem and think, when you include more people, wow, I didn't think of that, or that's a really interesting perspective, or great point. And I think that's very important as a board member to really rely on that and use that and know that it is not a weakness to bring in outside perspectives and views and to really lean on our community the way that we should, because our community is just full of incredibly knowledgeable people.
Okay, Mike, by the way, when you speak, get close to the microphone too.
This good right here? I mean, again, James kind of covered the basic three steps as far as curriculum, hiring and firing the superintendent, and the budget. But and then Amanda kind of covered the as far as the personal touch. So that's where I'm, and I'll echo Amanda as far as we need to be both the voice of the community as well as the voice of the schools to the community from a policy standpoint, from an overall standpoint. We're the we're the board. That's why honestly they're getting so much heat right now, is because we need to. We're the ones that they come to for answers, and we need to be able to provide those answers to them, be an open line of communication, be willing to work with community, and I say this often. I'm not so comfortable in front of the mic. I'm much more comfortable in the conversation side of things, and I'd be willing to meet up with coffee any day with anybody and talk through some.
Brad, does that mean 1 minute?
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Sorry.
For these questions are 1 minute. Again, if you get a thumbs up when you got 15 seconds left. We got a lot of things to cover. So
Yeah.
you can stop saying, finish your sentence.
All right, Mary.
Thank you. The basic role of the school board is governance of the district. It's the big picture, it's steering, not rowing the boat. So we set the vision for the district, and then we set goals based on that vision and policies that tie into that. We are in charge of hiring and evaluating the superintendent, which is a measurement of those goals. And it is very important for us to have input from all concerned parties. That's part of the basic function of the board, is to understand that big picture and how these policies affect everybody. It's also important that we know what the laws and regulations are that we operate under as a school district. We have a lot of special laws and regulations we need to be sure that we are following with each and every policy, goal, regulation.
Okay, Mark.
Thank you. So it's hard to say something other than what they've already said here, but it's all true. We are the conduit between the community and the school, and vice versa. We're not necessarily the ones who are going to answer all the individual questions and problems, but we can table that and work as a team, the board, and provide our recommendation to the superintendent. So that's an important aspect. So I don't want to lead people on to say that, okay, if you're on the board, you're going to solve my problem. It doesn't work just like that. But what's important is that we need to have a vision, a goal of what we want to do as a board, and each and every year it could change. But one thing that remains constant is we're there for the kids, to help the kids to be the best students they can be, and eventually the best adults they can be.
Thanks, Mark. Andrea?
Is this working? It's kind of hard to be at this end and not be repetitive. I think I had a little catching up to do, get on board for the Michigan Association of School Boards to learn what am I getting into, and like everybody said, governance and adopting curriculum and hiring and evaluating the superintendent, budgets, spending, but we're not here to micromanage the classrooms. I think I can add that. I see the team of 8 being a team that considers multidisciplinary perspectives to come up with a common goal to make sure that our kids are safe in school and they have an equitable learning environment.
Okay, Brian.
For the board, can you all hear me? Maybe this is better if I get a little closer.
That's better.
I agree with we must work as a team, but I think the biggest thing is that we need to foster the parent involvement. The parents are the voice out there that we just echo their voice. And we need to work as a team to make our school district the best in the state. I don't want to be on a team that's not any good. Everything that I do, I want it to be the best. And that's what I want for this community, that's what I want for the children, that's what I want for our teachers. I want them to be the best, and we, I think, can help provide that for them. Thank you.
Okay, Amanda, Mike's got the next question.
Thank you. Thank you for your answers. This question is a little more direct and is linked to a few of your answers. Is the primary role of the school board to control the administration / superintendent or to do the bidding of the superintendent / administration?
Did you say to control or do the bidding of the superintendent?
Yes. Is the role of the school board to control the administration / superintendent or to do the bidding of the superintendent / administration?
I don't think that it's either. I think the role of the board is to encourage and empower the superintendent to implement the policies and procedures that go on within the school. The board is not there to micromanage anybody, but rather to give the tools, give the feedback to the superintendent to let them know if they're doing the job properly in accordance to what the community wants. As far as I see it, I understand that they do have the power for hiring and firing, but at the same time, that should always be a last resort when you can work through problems together, when you can give your superintendent feedback from the community, from the board, and allow them to run with it and disseminate that across the culture within the school.
Michael?
Yes, I mean, given those two topics, I mean, there is a sense of control because you're evaluating them. But by setting policy, you're, like Amanda said, empowering them or allowing them to enforce or uphold that policy that you're setting. So it's definitely not to do the bidding of the superintendent. But I guess that's where I would say that you're empowering, but in a sense you are controlling because you have that ability to evaluate them and to kind of steer them through that evaluation process to uphold the policies that you're putting in place.
Thank you. Mary?
I would not choose either of those two words to describe that. The school board works as a team with the superintendent. You heard it said already about having a team of 8, so the school board is a team of 7, but the superintendent is a part of that team. We work together. Our job is to make sure that the superintendent is successful. So we do the best that we can in choosing a superintendent that would fit in the district and do what needs to be done. We set clear goals to be attained that are based on data, and the superintendent brings back the information, so we're really team members. You know, truly the school board is the boss. That's a superintendent's boss. But as a good leader does, we work with the superintendent to encourage them to be as successful as possible, which makes our students and our staff successful.
Mark?
Thank you. So the way I understand how this works, and I'm just learning myself, but the board and the superintendent, they take a particular policy and discuss it. The superintendent provides his guidance of what he thinks we ought to be doing. And then the board actually votes on it, whether we're going to do this or not, based on the board's collective voting power. So that's how I understand it, that it's supposed to work. So.
Okay. So the board can consist of any members from the community. And the superintendent is the expert on the schools. So the school board, I see, as a kind of a checks and balances, but a teammate with the superintendent. So I think we can bring back perspectives from, as I said before, parents, teachers, members of the community, and discuss certain policies and decisions, but ultimately I see the superintendent as the expert on schools and education, and work together to come up with, good outcomes for everybody.
I'm new to this. I've never sat on a school board. What I'm not new to is city government. I'm familiar with like city councils, city managers, and I know how those operate. I know that the school board and a superintendent is it's very, very similar in that fashion. The school board, although may set policies or review policies or they have thoughts on them, I think that the superintendent is the expert in that field. And I think it's important for the board to listen to the superintendent. But also I think that a good superintendent also listens to their school board because they are the voice of the community. So I think that they work hand in hand. I don't think that it's the school board that has control over someone. I think that like a good leader, you empower your people to do a good job. You put them in a position to do a job and that they should do that job. And then if they're under review not doing that job, then it's time to maybe make a change. But I think that you give it to people that you have in place to do their job.
Great answers, thank you. Okay, baseball coach. Mike, you're up to bat first. Oh, I'm sorry, James. You know what it was? It was a lack of a microphone in the first round.
Right? It's like, I'll project well right now. I think everyone here brings up very good points and stuff. The school board's not going to control the superintendent, all right? We have the responsibility to hold him accountable for the operations and administration of the school, all right? Students report up to the teachers and they do what they're expected. Teachers do what they're expected, report up to administrations and superintendent. And as a board, we are held accountable by the responsible voters of the community. It is very important to understand that. So if we're not doing our job, we don't get elected or re-elected. If the superintendent isn't doing his job or her job, it is reflected in the reviews. It is definitely teamwork between the two. It's not a one-man or one-woman show in any of this stuff. If anything in the last year and through the pandemic and everything is proven, it takes a community of all of us to work together.
Thank you. Okay, Mike, you've had a chance to get warmed up now. So, Mike, the question here, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. What are some things you feel are going well with our school district? And what are a couple of things you think need to be improved? So it's really two questions. What do you think is going well with the school district? And what are a couple of things you think could be improved upon?
Well, first off, one of the things that I think does well, one of my children has some disabilities, and we've been very impressed with how Oxford's come alongside him. When you're a new parent in that cycle, you don't really know what to expect, right, with IEP and that whole process. And you look online, there's a lot of horror stories in different districts. And so we went like, I don't know, fully prepared for that, and we didn't need to be, I guess. Oxford, the administration and the faculty that we came alongside us, I guess, in that process, were very helpful and pretty much came alongside our child and has been providing anything that they needed. So certainly, I would also fully, either from a funding standpoint or just, I fully support that whole process.
Time up, Brad?
Yeah, I guess that's already
Okay.
done.
All right, Mary, you're up to bat.
I think the top positive about our school district is the staff, is our teachers and our support staff, and what incredible people each and every one of them is. I hear story after story about how they go above and beyond on a daily basis. It's just amazing to work with that group of people. I think that one thing that we can improve on is communications. It's been a challenge that we've been playing catch up a lot with a lot of things that have been going on, and I see that there's a better way to structure some community communications, and I think that's something we can do better.
Okay, Mark?
What I'm impressed with, and this is how I've been involved with my kids as I went through the Oxford school system, is resources, how they've allocated resources.
Closer to the microphone.
Sorry. How Oxford has allocated resources to all of the sports, the theater, the things that the kids get involved with besides their educational courses. You can see even today, the football field looks like something from college. I mean, it's blue field, big stands that are supporting us. So I think that's a good thing, and I think that sense of charity to the kids, I would assume it's spread out to the classrooms as well. But I think we need to work on, and what I've seen in some YouTube videos is there's a lack of communication between the parents to the school board, and then listening to what they have to say. I think that was where we needed some improvement.
Okay, thank you. Andrea?
Well, as an old high school cheerleader myself, I think if you walk in the schools, you see a lot of team spirit. I think that the students and the staff had wonderful relationships. I think that the security since 11:30 has been enhanced greatly. I hear the maternity leave has greatly improved as well. I've been talking to students and staff since I decided to run, because that's an important question for me. Where do we need to improve? And what I'm hearing teachers say is they are tired, and I think you've heard them say that. They are tired, and we need to learn how to support them as best as we can, especially post-pandemic and post-11:30. I think there are supports being put into place, but I'm hearing that it's not enough. Our teachers are great, and we need to work on retaining the teachers that we have. We don't want to lose them.
Okay, Brian?
I think what's been really fantastic about this district is we hear a lot from the teachers. Every single day, my children come home. Either I have an email or pictures from a teacher. Granted, my kids are small, but that's still important. They communicate with us daily. And I'm not a parent that I never send an email to my teacher. They're always sending emails to us, saying this is what we did today in school, and they send pictures of that. I think that's phenomenal. My son, he has a journal that they bring home every day, and the teacher wants to know whether or not the parent looked at it. I think that's important. A teacher wanting to know that the parents are taking the time too. I find that's exceptional. It's the first I've seen of that. I didn't see that last year, but I see that this year. I think that's really good. I find that the support of the community with the school is phenomenal. The football game, for example, was brought up. Not only are the facilities great, there had to have been 7,000 to 8,000 people there. That is such phenomenal support, and I think that with that support, the one thing that the board can do is take that And again, I've said it before, but we need to listen. We need to listen to the people, and I think that's what the board has lacked in the past.
Okay, James, didn't forget you this time.
I appreciate that. You know, when I think about what works well in our district, we've had a rough few years. And when I look across the district, and not only in our schools with our teachers and our students, but our families, we're resilient. And we're strong, and we come together, and we're not afraid to speak up when things aren't working. I think that speaks volumes not only for the district, but for the community. As far as improvement goes, those years during the pandemic, we had a lot of loss of learning. And I see it in my own kids that there are years that they've lost that we're trying to catch up on, as well as keep the pace going. I think we need to really look at that and dive down and work with our superintendent and the teachers and see how we can bridge that gap or lessen that gap of loss of learning. As well as to touch on Mary's point, communication. We're community. We're hearing it from the community. We needed to come back from the board and from the school district. Thank you.
Thanks. Amanda?
So I'll echo a lot of what has already been said. You know, some things that need to be improved upon are definitely communication, transparency. Some amazing things are absolutely our staff. We have some of the most talented, qualified, caring staff around, and it's quite evident. Also, our graduation rate is much higher than neighboring districts and similar school systems, which is very impressive, and I think that's due to a lot of the different programs that Oxford offers from OVA and Bridges and all sorts of different avenues for students to graduate, which I think is very, very important. One thing, and I'm so happy to hear Mike say that the students with disabilities are being catered to very well. I think that is one thing that we need to work on. The latest statistics, this was before the pandemic, were that Oxford, only 8% of students with disabilities were proficient in all subjects, which is well below the state average and certainly the surrounding districts. So I hope that they're on that, and it's great to hear.
All right, thank you. Next question starts with you, Mary. What are your thoughts and what's your position in school of choice?
And school of choice?
School of choice.
I think that it has been very beneficial to our district. I think that it's been great that when we have room, we can have students from neighboring districts. We have a lot of great things to offer. Basic economics will also tell you that you want to operate at a certain capacity. So we have the ability to also benefit from that, because if we have empty seats in our schools, then it's a higher cost per student. The bottom line is that we do still have to pay our bills. But the benefit is that we can have other students coming into our community, which helps us develop really more of a global attitude. And we get to help other students and provide them a world-class education.
Can you repeat the question one more time?
What are your thoughts and what's your position in school of choice?
Okay. So this kind of branches out to a bigger question I wanted to touch on tonight too. But as far as school of choice, I think that's fine. I think if parents want to take their child to a school that they prefer, it's going to make them a happier parent and a happier household. So I'm okay with that. What I kind of wonder is, look at this international school option, I guess. And I have nothing to say negative about that, because it's good to have worldwide opinion and views of other kids. And I'm not sure how big this is in Oxford, but if it gets too big and it starts to impinge on the class size for the Oxford residents, now we've got more kids per teacher that you're not going to be able to teach as effectively. So that's just a concern I have. I'm not sure how it's going to work.
Thank you.
I support schools of choice as well. I don't know how I can say it better than Mary, but it's something that I think benefits all the kids, whether they're the kids coming in or the kids that are already there. They're coming from other areas, and our kids are learning from each other. Like Mary said, it's beneficial economically, and it's beneficial worldview for our children.
Thank you. Brian?
With school of choice, I don't have a problem with other children coming here from out of our district. There's only so many seats, so many places. We only have so much room, though. I do not ever want to see some student come from a neighboring district or somewhere else that's going to take a spot away from one of the children who live here or in our district. I don't know if that would ever happen, but again, we only have so much room. And but I'm okay with children coming from other areas as long as, you know, obviously they have to provide their own transportation to and from, and it doesn't take the resources away from students in our district.
Thank you. James?
I'm with everybody else. I don't have a problem with school choice. I think it's a good thing. It helps build community. It brings in people from other perspectives, right? I'll be the first to say that my perspective is only so big. Bringing in students from other cultures, from other areas, from other backgrounds, helps our kids to know what the real world's going to be like. All right. I do agree with everyone else that says, especially what Brian says, as long as bringing in the kids are allowed for the school of choice doesn't displace anybody, regardless of where they come from, whether it be another school of choice child or somebody who lives here locally. Yeah.
Thank you. Amanda?
I'm going to go with everybody else on this and agree with school of choice. And you know, it swings both ways. I know of families here in Oxford that have their students enrolled in Lake Orion or other districts, and it's really what's best for the family. What they decide is best for them, and if they prefer certain curriculum or the way the teaching styles, or even I know special needs programs in districts vary by quite a bit. So I love the choice, I love having it, and the only thing that I would want to watch, per se, would just be class size, making sure that we are not making our class sizes too large for our teachers to handle and so that our students can have adequate education. And it sounds like so far that has not happened, so that is it.
Thank you. Michael?
First off, like most of everyone else has said, I'm fully for more competition, the better, as far as making the general school program better. And as Mary mentioned, Oxford's very competitive. We have a lot of things that would draw outside people from outside the district into our school. So I support it from that standpoint. And kind of as others said, the only thing I would, I guess, I don't know, caution, but as far as Oxford school's first priority needs to be to serve Oxford kids. And so if there's ever a time where it starts to benefit, I'd be willing to, review it to see what the program is.
All right, thank you.
We start with Mark. Are you first in? Off the bat? Okay, so here's a question that gets bandied around quite a bit in society today. Do you support critical race theory in Oxford schools?
Okay, for me, I'm not in favor of critical race theory curriculum. I guess I'm old school, but I would like to say that what we need to do is teach the children to think critically and to be able to use good judgment about our society as it is. We've got a lot of input from the media, but I think the most important input is from the parents. They need to talk to the children and get that direction from there. Thank you.
So I would actually have a question for that question, because critical race theory has been around for over 40 years, and the way that it's been spun around lately doesn't mean the same thing as what it was intended for. It's intended to be for college scholars to study the outcomes of how race and ethnicity impact policy. I'm all about cultural diversity and my children learning from the outcomes of the policies that were made in the past, so we don't repeat some of these policies that were harmful to certain races and cultures. And I think that sometimes CRT is looked at as something other than what it was intended for.
Absolutely 100% no. I can't be any more clear on that. I think that people are judged on effort. If my child excels in math, then I want him in an advanced math class. And because he's in an advanced math class and he's being steered that way and somebody feels bad because he's good at math, well, that child, we can find what they're good at and foster that and get them to excel in that. I don't believe that children are oppressors. I think they should be judged on effort, hard work, and excelling in the classroom, and that alone.
Okay, James?
I'm kind of with Andrea, like critical race theory or CRT, I guess it depends on who you talk to and what they mean in the background of it. What I can say is that I believe that our kids should be taught and understand that our world is diverse. All right, there's many different people, many different cultures in here, and there is a way to go about explaining those cultures, those different backgrounds and stuff in a way that is inclusive and inviting for them, and so they're understanding and have an idea of it, and it's not just a single cookie cutter of this is what it is and this is all you're gonna ever exposed to. Working in a global company, I get exposed to many different cultures across the globe, and I love it. And I talk to my kids about it all the time. So, I guess for your question, it's kind of hard to answer this, not knowing a little bit more details on what you mean by critical race theory.
Okay, Amanda, I guess that was an introduction.
I'll take it. So it's been stated repeatedly, Ken Weaver had an article in the Leader stating explicitly that there is not CRT in Oxford schools. So going by that being the case, there is not a present issue to bring. I do not believe that it also should ever be added as well. And there are reasons for that. And I kind of liken it to the No Child Left Behind Act. While it sounds amazing in theory, there were some major, major pitfalls. And if we look at Portland, who was the epicenter of introducing CRT into K-12 schools, it not only widened the gap, the educational gap between students of different races, it also exacerbated problems. So if we are to have diversity and inclusion programs in Oxford, I would strongly advise that it is not based on that CRT model that has failed.
As kind of been mentioned, as far as CRT is concerned, I've said before, I don't really like that term, but I have seen it, I guess, and it's kind of a nebulous term. So I've seen it, I guess, the concerning is the ideologies under some of this diversity, equity, inclusion ideology. I've seen some very concerning things come out of that in Oakland schools. Which I do have a concern. How I don't want. For instance, just the privilege side of things and how we think just because of the color of someone's skin, it's affecting how the benefits that they're receiving, and things of that nature. And as Brian kind of mentioned, I'm all for the character of the child, and if they work hard with what they're good at, they're going to succeed, and I truly believe that. So I don't want to see that, those ideologies, whether that's under the umbrella of CRT or not, but I have seen that coming into open schools, and I don't like what I'm saying, I'll be honest.
Critical race theory is such a great phrase to get people riled up, because no two people in this room could probably explain it the same way. So I can't answer a question about something that we can't even come to a basic understanding of what the phrase means. I will tell you that I will stand with our vision of creating a world-class education to shape tomorrow's leaders. We teach history, we teach science, we teach math, we teach facts. We help children learn how to learn. We help them learn to think critically. That's what we're doing, shaping tomorrow's leaders. It's first important that we come to an understanding of what we're talking about in the first place, or we'll never understand each other.
Thank you. Andrea, next question goes to you first. But before we get there, just it's a time check. We're about 1 hour in, so we're about the halfway mark. So just so everybody knows where we're at. We still have a lot of questions to get through. So, question is, what are your thoughts about having Attorney General Nessel involved in the independent review from the tragedy in the Liverpool?
I've been supportive of that since day one.
I'm sorry? You can't hear the question, I'm sorry. What are your thoughts about getting Attorney General Nessel involved in an independent investigation from the November 30th tragedy?
I was saying that I was supportive of that since day one. I would like to see that happen, and that's as simple as that. I would like to see that happen.
Okay.
I think that'd be okay, but as long as everything is transparent, I don't know if it would be if she was. I almost think that it has to be a completely independent review with no agenda in place, so that way everybody can see exactly what took place. Nothing hidden, nothing behind closed doors. It all needs to be out. I think that's what everybody, and it should be known, and that's what everybody needs to know, because how can you improve on something when you don't have all the facts, and you don't truly know what took place, or you have myths out there, or I heard this and I heard that. We don't need any of that. Any kind of investigation that doesn't have that would be a good investigation for anybody or any school district to move on from and to improve from.
Thank you. James?
I'm torn on this because I want transparency. I want to understand the facts. As somebody that responded that day and stuff, there's things that I saw and talking to the community and listening to people in the community and stuff. I don't know if Dana Nessel coming in and doing an investigation is actually going to pull it out. I think there's a lot of stuff that could, we call it in IT industry scope creep. It starts as one thing and it kind of goes on to something else and it keeps going, and now we've lost the traction and the focus point. We have a current independent investigation going, and I don't have confidence in that either. There's a lot of stuff that's come out in the bit that we've looked at from a community and stuff that is very apparent. I don't think that we need Dana Nessel coming in and either looking into it or using it for political gain. Sorry, I don't have trust in him.
Amanda?
So ideally, I would like 10 people, 10 parties, 10 corporations, 10 entities to come in and do this investigation and have us decide between that if they come up with the same information. Unfortunately, that's not the world that we live in, and we can't have that. So I would say that the best thing in the absence of multiple investigations would be one third party, not politically affiliated entity to do that. I'm concerned that no other attorney general has done this in school shootings previously. I'm very concerned that after however many decades we've been dealing with this, there's not a plan in place already that says these are your steps and you have no choice, and this entity comes in and does an investigation and handles it. But we don't have that. Every state is different, every political affiliated party is different, so I would just prefer to leave that out of it.
Michael?
some have mentioned already. I think specifically Dana Nessel, I don't know that I would support that. Well, I know I wouldn't support that. I think it overcomplicates things. But to Amanda's point, I'm surprised we have organizations like FEMA for disaster relief, right? They know the proper steps to take. And I'm surprised that those things haven't been over the last as far since Columbine, right? Why these haven't been enacted, so that an organization comes in and just it takes over. And I think I would like a fully independent review, because I think there's too many shareholders as far as transparency is concerned. And so, but I think that should be, completely independent. I don't see why that wouldn't happen, actually.
Mary?
The district currently has an independent third party, a highly regarded independent third party firm that is in the process of an investigation right now.
Mark?
Okay, I don't know this particular attorney, so I think a lot depends on the integrity of that individual. And I'm not that close to what the current study is about, so I'm not sure if the parents are unhappy with what's going on. Again, I would be a voice for the parents, as to say, are you satisfied or are you not? If they're not satisfied with what's going on here, then I would be supporting another investigation, because there's more to it, especially if you were a parent who lost a child or had kids involved with that. You want to know what's going on. So I would support that if that was I would support somebody that you knew had integrity, even if it was another person.
Start with Brian then. Okay, this question, Brian, is how do you feel about starting out meetings with prayer like what was done today?
If I heard the question right, how do you feel about starting meetings with prayer?
Correct.
I don't have a problem with it, because you sitting there, you can decide whether or not you want to participate or not. I don't have a problem with starting the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance either. I think it should be in the school every day. We used to do it when I was in school. They would go over the PA and we would stand for the pledge. Some kids didn't. And is that okay? Yes, that's okay. But I think that I didn't have a problem with that whatsoever. If I didn't want to participate, I wouldn't participate. But since I participated, I chose to participate, just as you all have that option as well.
Mr. Summers?
Repeat the question one more time for me.
How do you feel about starting out meetings with the prayer like what was done today?
Are we in relation to school board meetings?
It is. The question is what it is.
Okay. For the case of a meeting like this, I don't have a problem with it. I'm very much, if you want to take part and go with it, that's perfectly fine. It's a personal choice. I'm not going to put my religious views and force it on other people. I'm not going to be afraid to share my religious views. As far as when it comes to schools, starting at the beginning of a school board meeting, I think the laws are very particular and very strict on the separation of church and state. And there's no wiggle room with that. I'm sorry.
So I absolutely agree with the separation of church and state, and I don't think that it is an appropriate place, if we're talking of a school board meeting, to start with prayer that is part of the meeting. Now, I will say that there are groups I know here in Oxford. They have prayer at the pole, I believe they call it, where they pray outside of the high school at the flagpole. And anybody that would like to join is welcome. And that is not a school-sanctioned event. It is just community members coming together. So I absolutely support that. Everybody's faith is personal to them, and I absolutely support them showing it how they would like. But as part of a school-sanctioned type of event, no, I don't think that is something that I would seek to add.
Well, to answer the question as it is, I thought that tonight in particular it was really refreshing to hear that here tonight. I didn't necessarily know until I got the agenda. So that was, I agree. Everyone's faith is very personal, but I agree with Brian as far as if you choose to participate, you can. I draw much of my strength from prayer, and so I thought it was refreshing.
School board meetings are a meeting of the school board in public. It is not a public meeting, it is a school board meeting that is held in public. I'm sure that there are laws governing prayer at school board meetings. I don't see that as a place for prayer, because then the question comes up of what kind of prayer are you talking about? Now, this meeting, the people who led and organized this meeting, I think that is great if they want to start their meeting with a prayer. They're the people who organized the meeting, and they can start it with their type of prayer. We do have a diverse community, and many different people pray in many different ways. And again, I think that's up to the leader of that meeting.
Okay. I think that for me, prayer is essential to how I function. And if people want to pray, I wouldn't go against it. But if you have people in that group that doesn't believe in prayer and is going to object, then I would probably opt with the idea of prayer before the meeting as a group. But if you think about the Pledge of Allegiance, are we praying anyways? Under God.
Actually, when Mr. Root started the prayer, my thought was, I wonder if anybody else in the room has something to add or something different, or may have wanted a warning to excuse themselves. I do strongly believe in the separation of church and state. I do have a strong faith growing up. I'm a member of the St. Joseph's Parish, but not everybody is. I don't believe that school boards should adopt that idea. I think it's inappropriate.
Thank you.
Next question goes all the way back to the start. James, relative to teachers. How would you support and retain teachers and staff, and what could we do to increase or improve academic performance?
I only get a minute for this?
Yeah.
Well, being a spouse to a school teacher, let me tell you, it's a long list. You know, I think our PTO does a really good job on supporting our teachers. I sit in a couple different meetings and know people, and they really try to show the caring and support from the community for our teachers. As far as retention stuff goes, right now there's this teacher shortage, not only here in Michigan, but across the globe. It's a competitive market. My wife does hiring and interviewing for teachers, and quite often they'll interview somebody, offer them a job, and another district comes in and offers them a sign-on bonus and some extra added steps and different things. We need to look at unfortunately I hate to say teaching is an industry, but we need to look at it as a business, and we need to be competitive with the market that we sit in right now. It's not a choice that we have.
Thank you. Amanda?
Yeah, it is a pretty long list that teachers are facing as far as why they are leaving this profession so quickly and so abruptly after investing so much time. And it's very sad, but I've looked at many different studies across the board, and one common theme, obviously aside from pay, because as we all know, due to inflation, they are not keeping up with current market rate. But student behavior seems to be one of the leading factors for teachers leaving the profession, and it is something that we need to look at as our responsibility as parents, as students, as community members. This is something that we need to work together and support our teachers with, and make sure that all stakeholders are aware of consequences, and that there will be accountability. Accountability goes both ways. We expect it from our administration and teachers. As parents and as students, we also need to give it back.
Thank you. Michael?
As for me, I know especially after going through the tragedy like we did in November. I know statistically, retention of teachers is a very difficult thing. I mean, they're going through a lot. The stresses are very high, but I think we need to do what we can. I agree with James. Exactly. We need to treat it as an industry, and we need to be competitive from that. And so whether that is looking at the budget and giving some bonuses, or also reducing class size if possible, I know that is one of the main balances, and trying to help them, support them. My wife and I mean, we certainly, from a community standpoint, I would encourage everyone to support your teachers in any way possible, whether it's donations through books or anything from that standpoint. But yeah, I think that would be the main thing, is looking at it to make Oxford as competitive as possible.
Thank you. Mary?
I know that our teachers are exhausted, and I know that they've been through a lot, as our paras and as our support staff. Money is part of it, but I think part of the problem is what we put on our teachers and the responsibilities that they have, and the mounds of paperwork, and all the expectations, and all the hats they're supposed to wear, and then the parents come in and start complaining to the teachers about what their kid getting in trouble for something. I think that we need a concerted effort at a state and a federal level to be sure that schools get the right amount of funding. Studies have been done where our schools are grossly underfunded in this state. There have been studies done. And I think that we need to get some of these responsibilities off of our teachers and staff.
Thank you. Mark?
So, I don't know what all of the concerns are from the teachers. I'm sure if you sat down with each one, they'd have their list, and maybe 3 or 4 things would be common amongst them. I would imagine pay is one of them, and it's good to hear that that concern is being reviewed by the school board. You need to have competitive wages to maintain anybody in any industry. I'm in the automotive industry. We lose people more often than I'd like to say to competitors because we're not paying as much. So that's a factor. I think the quality of work and the support they have from their management is another factor that is really important. So if you have management that's not supporting you, that makes a long day. That's how I feel about it.
Thank you. Andrew?
Well, like I said in a previous question, I have sat down with teachers and asked them what it is that they need. They are exhausted, like I said earlier, and one of the things that we needed to improve was retaining the good teachers that we do have. I think by soliciting their input on professional learning topics, giving them choices, space, teams, and time, including teacher representation on planning teams, giving them time and space to team up with grade level teachers to have time to plan. I don't know how much of it would be in the budget to allow professionals to assist, especially in the lower levels. I know our DK teachers are asking for smaller size classrooms. Those 4-year-olds, and I have one in DK, are very busy. My time is up, but I could go on and on this one.
Ryan, go ahead.
Obviously, you want competitive wages, benefits. We don't want to lose the teachers that we have. All the teachers I've come into contact with have been exceptional. Even the ones that haven't taught my children, you know, that they're just so involved and they're so invested in the school, and they treat the children like their own. And that's what I want. I want to know, though, why are we losing, if we're losing teachers? Why are we losing them? I think in order to solve a problem, you've got to understand the why. So in order to answer that question completely, you have to listen to the teachers. What is it that's causing a teacher to go elsewhere? It's not always about wages. You can look at all all the studies and they say that wages are great. Everybody wants a good paying job, but there are other things. They want to be supported by the staff. Everybody wants a good boss. When they're treated properly, they stay. Is that the problem? I don't know. I think that in order to get to the answer, though, is you have to listen to the teachers.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
Mr.
Okay.
Moderator, could I ask a question? I heard
No.
I heard nothing in that about academic performance. That was part of the question.
That's not the question, though.
Yeah, we can get back to that.
Okay.
Amanda?
Question, please.
Do you support Army teachers, administrators, and support staff in schools? It doesn't say board members, by the way.
So I would support that for those who want to. I don't ever think that should be mandated. I don't ever expect to tell an educator that they must do that. I think that a lot of people would be uncomfortable with that. However, for the ones that would like to, are properly trained and have extensive experience, I believe we do it now, and I don't see an issue with it moving forward as long as there are clear safety procedures and policies in place and followed diligently.
I agree with Linda. No, I think the weapons-free, gun-free zones, I think we've seen that is not really something that guards these any establishments, whether that's malls or schools. And so I would agree with Amanda. I would never force it on anyone or mandate it. Or I wouldn't even want to set a quota to have 10% or something like that covered. But if someone wanted to be allowed to carry, I think we could set in place higher standards than the standard CPL for Michigan. I think we could set in place a higher standard for that, and I would be in support of that.
Okay, Mary?
So I just want to be clear, the question is, would I support
I'll read it again.
teachers?
Do you support Army teachers, administrators, and support staff in schools?
Arming as in having them carry guns?
Well, my assumption is guns.
Okay, I just want to be clear. So we're saying, do I support our teachers and staff carrying guns? My answer is no.
I would side on the side of having teachers, administrators, people who would be willing to do such a thing. They'd have to have the willingness to do that. But if they had the proper training, if they had the right mindset, and you can filter people before that ever happens. But I think a lot of children who've been killed in these events would be alive today had someone had a gun in their back pocket. Thank you.
So I support moms demand action, and they do not support teachers being armed. There is no evidence that shows arming teachers makes schools safer. In fact, research indicates that children will feel less safe in schools if we do that. The American Federation of Teachers and the National Education Association both oppose it. Guns have no place in our schools, period. To burden schools with, a larger cost and liability insurance, and not to mention how many times a child has been injured by a weapon by accident. We're talking a vast majority of fatalities, unintended deaths, self-inflicted or by accident. Kids can get a hold of your gun at home, and they know they're at school. Who's to say they're not going to get a hold of it at school?
Thanks, Andrew. Ryan?
I would never force a teacher to want to carry a weapon. I think only the most stringent of policies have to be put in place. They have to be followed. and obviously the training that would be involved with a teacher wanting to carry or have a gun in school. I think that that's something that is obviously it's a hot topic. A lot has to be looked into that. I do support them having that option though. But there's guidelines and policies and procedures and that have to be put in place for that to happen.
James?
So I'd like to echo what Brian says. This isn't as simple as yes or no, all right? We have the Second Amendment, yes, all right. We have educators there, and their job is to educate our children, to take care of them. They have a lot of stuff that's on their mind. The additional burden of potentially having that, and then the consequences if that should ever arise, I don't think they got into the job for that. However, if they want the choice, there'd have to be stringent policies. There's a financial obligation, there's a liability, insurance. I mean, honestly, I can't answer it. I support the Second Amendment, but I know that when I went up there on November 30th, it was complete chaos. And I don't know what else could have happened, or if somebody does the wrong thing. There's a lot of hypotheticals and unknowns. This is something that I can't give you a clear-cut yes or no on. Sorry.
Thank you. Next question goes to Michael to start. What 2 key issues do you feel Oxford parents most care about for 2023?
One is transparency. We kind of touched on that previously, but I think transparency going into into that with a new board, I guess that would be 2023. So going in with a new board, I think the expectation is going to be that there's more transparency. Whether that's communication from what is currently going on or what's being investigated or what's coming out of the third-party review, and I think we need to gain that trust back. I think that's going to be a high priority. I also think from a transparency standpoint, I see that as also from a curriculum standpoint. We need to be, like I said before, there's some ideologies that are coming through some of our training in open schools that I don't agree with, and I've seen intentional hiding from parents. So I think that's another part of that.
Thank you. Mary?
I think what I'm hearing from parents is several parents who speak loudly, but I'm not certain that that is the voice of the whole community. So I think it's important to know, to get a better understanding of what the whole community feels are the important issues. Because nobody has come to school board meetings talking about student achievement, but I know families are concerned about student achievement. I know that we all are. I think the first part of this is establishing a better way to gather community input, so we're not just listening to the loud voices. I want to be sure that we're listening to all of the voices.
Thank you. Mark?
I think the top 2 issues that parents are concerned about is their safety in school. Particularly in Oxford, since this event had happened, what's in place to guarantee it's not going to happen again? I think that's up there near the top. And then I think the transparency of what is the curriculum, what is being taught to my child. I'm entrusting the school to educate my child, but is everything they're teaching what I agree with? So I think they need to have transparency on the curriculum.
Thank you. Andrew?
As a parent myself, I could answer that, and talking to other parents, I would say safety and mental health. Without those 2 things, children can't learn. They can't focus in class. They're not hearing what they need to hear and doing what they need to do. If they don't feel safe, top priority. We need to make them feel safe. And listening to them and making sure that they have the supports that they need in place so that they can make the achievements in the classroom that they are intended to make, so that they have better outcomes, so that they can continue to progress. If their mental health isn't there and taken care of, I guess I could add on top of that, if they're not eating well and sleeping well because they're not feeling safe. I mean, those basic needs need to be addressed.
Right. Can you do me a favor and just repeat the question? I want to make sure I answer it all.
Question was, what 2 key issues do you feel Oxford parents most care about for 2023?
I think safety. I think that's an obvious one. And I believe that curriculum transparency, what are the children being taught? What are my kids being taught? I know that when my kids come home from school, I ask them, what did you do in school today? And those of you that have kids, you know, a lot of times you'll hear nothing or what have you. You get the standard answer. But I want to know what they're being taught. I want to know how they're being taught, and I see the work that they're doing. I think those are the top ones. Thank you.
Thank you. James.
So the 2 issues, parents for 2023, one, better transparency through more communication. It's getting better. The school board and schools in general has heard it, and I think it's a good step in the right direction, but I think we can keep building upon that. The second part is rebuilding our school community, and really that is, again, the whole community, just not teachers and students, but the families and everybody that's involved with our schools and the people that live in here. A lot of stuff has happened in the last 3 years, let alone what happened in November. And I think there's some divide. There's obviously, we're still going through the grieving process and everybody's in a different spot. So rebuilding that community and getting this back on page.
So I think it boils down to one main idea, is that parents want to be heard. Parents want to collaborate with the school. Parents want to be a part of their children's education, and they want to do that in tandem with the school, which builds on the transparency issue that James brought up. It's very important for trust and to maintain positive relationships if there's transparency. If not, you're losing trust with parents, with the community. And so right now, I think some of the issues that are important, such as the guidepost and investigation, I hope to be cleared up by 2023, and that will shed some light, hopefully very soon for our families, and that we can work together to bring a more unified approach to the school district.
Okay, Mary, your first one. This question, I think Evan was alluding to a little bit earlier. It's about academic performance. I'll read the question verbatim. How can Oxford catch Goodrich in academic performance? If you're familiar with Goodrich schools, they typically have pretty good scores, SAT scores. I know I look at them sometimes myself. Goodrich has some pretty high scores. And the rest of this question said, what is the board's role in improving academic performance?
Thank you for the question. Studies show that a well-functioning board are at the heart of highly functioning students and academic achievement. It's important that the board sets their vision and sticks with the vision. You know, the board has to set high expectations for the students, which we have been doing all through COVID. We also set those expectations believing that we can achieve those expectations. We set high expectations for our teachers. We're sure that we keep our students first, that we're focused, that the things we do are focused on student achievement. You know, we base our teachings and our curriculums on data. We are data-driven, not opinion-driven. We need to be sure that we are collaborative, that all the different parties are collaborating. At the base of all of this is safety. As it's been said, students can't learn if they're not feeling safe.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, so in the corporate world, we're always given our yearly objectives. And whether we like it or not, that's what we have to do. That's how we have to perform. Otherwise, it reflects in our paycheck. Before all you teachers get nervous about that, I'd like to say, let's put it this way. If we make a goal, and I don't know how we're measuring these kids, whether it's their math scores or their ACTs or whatever that measurement bar is, but whatever it is, if we were to take it and just bring it up just a notch more than what it was before, and incrementally get better, and then actually reward the teachers with a merit raise or something of financial, that might give them more incentive rather than just say, well, if you don't do it, you're going to get the axe or something of that nature. So reward with kindness.
I think I would go back to the last question asked about that I answered safety and mental health. And I want to add that that's not just for students so that they can perform better. We need to make sure our teachers' safety and mental health are where they need to be, and that parents are supporting that so that their job is easier to do and they enjoy it more, and the students feed off of that. And if we've got parents supporting the teachers in that role, the teachers are going to be supporting the students in theirs. And if they feel safe, if they are in a place where they feel they have a relationship with that teacher, they're going to do better. So if the parents can support good relationships with their teachers, they're going to feel that this is more of an extension of them. Sorry, my time is
Okay, and I'm going to repeat the question, just give Brian a chance to catch your breath. How can Oxford catch Goodrich schools in academic performance? What is the board's role in improving academic performance?
Well, I like goals, okay? And I like being on a winning team, as I told you earlier. But I'm not opposed to what is Goodrich doing that gives them such high scores. Why can't we know that? Why not ask them? What are you doing? And then look at what we're doing, compare the two. Maybe we need to look and copy. There's nothing wrong with that. When you have a good team out there, what are they doing that makes them so successful? Well, I can do that too. So why can't we just do that? I have a goal, Oxford to be the best. I want to be on a team that's the best. So that's my goal. That should be the board's goal. That's our community's goal. Why not us? Why not Oxford? Look and see what Goodrich does, and I'd say let's compare it to what we've got. Thank you.
James?
Well, I don't want to be an echo chamber of what Brian said, but a phrase that we use a lot in work is building upon the success of others to help us become better. And I think looking at Goodrich schools, seeing what they're doing, reaching out, building that community not only between Oxford and Goodrich to see what they're doing, and take some advice from their board members. I'm sure that our board has relations with them as well, being that they're a neighboring community. There may be some demographic differences as far as school population and stuff. Unfortunately, I don't have that data in front of me. It is from a board's perspective, what we can do, we team up with our superintendent. We put those goals or key indicators in place, or KPIs as sometimes it's referred to, of how we're going to get there. The pandemic definitely caused for a learning disparity between the different groups and stuff, so we have some catching up to do, but you know, if our neighbor can do it, I think we can learn from them as well.
To build on that, yes, absolutely. Review, research, compare. That's what we teach our high school kids to do. That's how we should approach this issue as well. Look at what surrounding districts are doing. I actually wrote down a couple of notes, and I picked Lake Orion. I'm really kicking myself for not picking Goodrich. But just as a comparative, Lake Orion only has 20% more students, but they have 50% more teachers and 93% more parapros. They actually spend $250 less per student than we do, and still rank much higher. So again, I would ask and echo what Via's other guys have said, that let's look into this. Let's see, let's collaborate with them. Let's use teamwork and see where we can find these, spots in the budgeting curriculum to improve.
So as far as, I think the Goodrich part of it, I agree with here. As far as the board's role is, I appreciate Mary saying that set high expectations, right? So I set high expectations for my kids personally, for my teams, and I have high expectations for Oxford. And I think the board can set a roadmap and work with the superintendent and with metrics in there, milestones that must be met. Whether that's in something like this 3-year plan, but what actual milestones that we know that's met, we can grade ourselves against, and that'll help us because we need a path to be able to meet our goals. And I echo Mark's suggestion as far as really looking at supporting the teachers as far as incentive programs or something like that, as far as performance.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next question goes to Mark to start. And a few of you have touched on the financing and or budgeting. So this one is actually the only question we have relative to that. Do you feel the district spending is being utilized properly? Okay.
I have no idea. Because I don't know what they're spending, what the budget looks like, all the incremental costs. I am for transparency, however, so that the board members should know what's being spent and how it's being spent.
Thank you. Andrea?
My understanding is that we don't know how much the school is going to get and when they're going to get it. I never looked at the books either, so I couldn't tell you how financially responsible or conservative we are with the money, but from what I'm saying, with the increase in the security measures, I see it's being spent wisely as far as that goes. But other than that, I am not sure.
All right, thank you. Brian?
I don't necessarily know everything that the school has spent all the budget on. Obviously, I see the things when I take the kids to school or when I pick them up from time to time. I see the additional security measures in place. Those are good, but that has to take a toll on the budget. How much of that was budgeted? Have we gone over that budget? And obviously, if you go over that, some other things are going to suffer. I'm for being fiscally responsible and not having unnecessary waste, but I'd like to know what exactly we are spending all the money on. But I think it's imperative that we are responsible. It's not an endless supply of money or an endless supply of funds, and we just need to be responsible.
Thank you. James?
So I've sat in, I think, one board meeting where they went through the budgeting items and stuff, and I have to honestly give kudos to Sam Barna for his due diligence on going through and looking at the numbers, reporting them, answering questions and stuff, and I even had some questions myself on some things to the side. I feel that the school is doing the best with their budgeting and using it wisely. Sometimes I question, as I walk through the buildings, different parts of technology that have been purchased in the classrooms that were used for a couple of years and then aren't used and replaced. I guess that's me being an IT guy, wondering, longevity and stuff. I think, from looking at it and being optimistic, getting on the board, asking those questions and making sure that it's just not a one-year spend and that we're going to have to replace it and that we get a return on our investment.
So I think the district needs to be prepared for a budget shortfall between the economy and just the basic fact. Home values after a mass shooting incident will decrease anywhere between 13 and 20%. That obviously means that the district will lose that revenue. So we need to be prepared as a district for that. Like James said, it's integral to have good people in place, qualified people. Sam Barna, who graciously spent plenty of time explaining a lot to me, has actually doubled our district fund balance since 2015. I think that's going to be very important for the future, and I think that he is going to be a very good asset in helping us through that. And again, I go back to that stat of Lake Orion spending $250 less per student. We need to look at ways that they are doing that and how we can compete.
On the last, as far as the last one is concerned, I agree. I'm not going to toot Sam's horn anymore, but I have been very impressed as far as how he handles himself and the financials of the district. I'm happy to see us trying to get away from renting some of these buildings and getting more buildings that we own. And so that is also a benefit as far as from a financial standpoint. But I agree with Amanda that both from Oxford, but also just the economy now, we need to be prepared for a budget shortfall, and that may require pinching some corners. But I have also been impressed with as far as like robotics and those programs, and how much we've invested in those programs. We have an awesome machine shop in high school, and we succeed because of it, really. And so I would say I agree that we are fiscally responsible.
I think the district is doing a fine job with the finances. Our fund balance, I think, is at 12–14%, which is a good number. It affects a lot of other things in the district. We have done a great job looking for grants, getting grant money, spending it on the programs that we need. We also have a lot of benefits in our district, like our students don't have to pay to play, which many other districts they do. So we have to also compare things when we're looking at spending. I just want to be sure that everybody knows that when it comes to the money that we get to operate the school district, the money that comes from the state, we are totally at the mercy of the legislature and the governor. They choose every year what we're going to get. We don't have any say in that matter, and sometimes we don't even know by the time school starts the money that we're going to be getting in. So I think we're doing a great job with the high fund balance. We do need to be sure that we can sustain the programs that we need moving forward.
Super. Okay, it's Andrea, you're first up. By the way, we have time for just 2 more questions if you're getting ready to go home. Yeah, so Andrea, what activities have you been involved with your children in Oxford schools? What activities have you been involved with your children here in Oxford schools?
I think back to my oldest right now, his youngest, and Boy Scouts was a first. I volunteered where I could in the scouting program with him. Volunteered in classrooms, of course, for both of them. They've been involved in a lot. Band. I've kind of been the carpool person in the community a lot. So it's been a great way to get to know other parents, coaches, and children in the community. I've helped coach with my son this past year at T-ball.
Okay.
Well, my kids are young, so they're 6 and 8, as I told you before. So the activities that they are in, gymnastics and dance, aren't necessarily associated with the school. Football, Oxford Junior Wildcats, go Wildcats. I'm at every practice. I'm actually the public address announcer at the football games. So if you all come, cheer us on, you'll hear my voice. at all of those games, and there's just there's opportunities there as far as we volunteer for fundraising events that we do with OJW and that program. Next year I'm looking at coaching for OJW as well, so I'll be participating in that. Go Wildcats.
All right, James.
I was trying to make my list, and like others that have kids that have been in the district, you know, my stuff really started back in 2000, and I could be wrong on the date, 2014 with the career advisory program that started, which is now the CTE program. Back then, Mrs. Wolberg started it, and it's where professionals from the community would come in and meet with the staff and students with the staff on things that they could do to prepare our kids for careers in the world. I'm still proud to be part of that today. There's another program that goes on at the high school that is sponsored by Microsoft. It's called the Teals Program. It's computer programming. I petitioned for 3 years with Tim Throne, Lisa Butts, to get that in there. I'm proud to say that it's there, I believe in its 4th year. I volunteered for the first year inside there. It's expanded to Mrs. Monkevich having a full-time role at the high school, and we're expanding to the middle school. And then Orva and the community sitting on the board, and miscellaneous volunteering inside of the classrooms. I pretty much know most of the building administrators that my kids go to and like to make friends and ask how I can help support them.
So I'm going to be totally honest here. My boys are 6 and 7, and we tried ice hockey for a hot minute, and 7 a.m. Saturdays did not work well for our family at all. So we are not currently in any sports at this time, although, you know, our kids have a great sense of adventure. Travel is really important to us as a family. My boys have been at the ages of 6 and 7 to many different countries, states. That's kind of our thing as a family. I anticipate as they get older and interests change and traveling with mom and dad isn't as cool anymore, that they'll develop their own interest in things as far as that goes. So at this time, aside from being frequent flyers here at Urban Air and your local parks and everywhere else in the community that they can jump around, we are not in any organized sports.
Although it's not just sports, just so everyone knows. Just any activities.
Right, so
any
as far as
activities.
the school concerned directly, right, mainly the one that stands out is the robotics program. So the first program for me, everything from Lego, so I've been coaching that from Lego, so for somewhere around 5 years now. And my oldest is now in 6th grade. He's at the middle school robotics. So it's awesome to see that growth and them knowing what they started from. And I have a young kid who will be in the first Lego robotics this spring. I'm still there, so I see what they're starting with and what they're accomplishing now. And I mentioned earlier coaching baseball. I've been coaching baseball since my oldest was quite young, and it's just amazing to see what they start with and really seeing that spark within them. I love it. I love coaching the kids, and I also do some volunteering, showing in the classrooms and whatnot.
So with my kids, I spent 5 years as a robotics mom, helping out with sponsorships. I'm not an engineer. I don't know anything about robots or building them, but I was able to do some community work. I'm also a band mom, and I volunteered with the marching band. I love band, and go Team 2137. I enjoy March's Reading Month. I love reading to kids in all the classrooms. I'm also a volunteer for First Robotics, and my son has since gotten involved in volunteering for First Robotics now that he's out of high school. Parents, take every opportunity you can to volunteer with your kids. It's just an amazing experience to just watch all these kids grow, let alone your own. My kids weren't interested in spending time with me, but it was great to be with them.
Okay, Mark?
So you can imagine with having 7 kids, I was at the school a lot. Between coaching soccer, taking kids to practice, traveling to Petoskey, watching basketball and track, is all there. And so it's just something, you just take on that task. You know, that's how I am at this point in my life. Thankfully, they're all graduated and they're all on their own. So I'll catch a game or one or two at Oxford just because I want to see the game. But I supported when I really had to.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Last question goes to Brian, but before we do that, I apologize if we didn't get to your question. There's a lot of great questions, but I believe all the candidates will stick around after this so we can talk to them privately if you wish to, and or go have a drink and buy something. So the final question starts with Brian. How would you promote healing within the school and the community?
I think the school has done a really good job of that, with all the resources that have been available. All of the correspondence saying that Oxford has mental health staff pretty much at the ready. I like the fact that when I drive downtown and through the village, I see all of our team, our town. That's important. It's a good feeling to be here, to live in Oxford. Like I said, I lived in Lake Orion, I lived in Clarkston, and now I live in Oxford. This is the best it's been. The support, the family atmosphere, and just the constant knowing that we're all here, we're all one, we're all together. That's invaluable. I even see it on the T-shirts. I've talked about my son. You know, he went to football camp, he comes back, and everything is together. That in itself is part of healing. I see it everywhere. Just so those kids know that they are supported, and that's invaluable.
Thank you. James?
In the schools, I completely agree. I think we're doing everything possible to not only for the teachers, for the administrations, but for the students to listen, to let them be heard, to let them know it's okay to be vulnerable, to be empathetic to what they're going through. We have, the grieving process is different timing for everybody, and being there. As a community, the same thing. I said earlier that our community is resilient. All right, this isn't something that is going to destroy us or pull us apart. We are fighting left and right to keep things together, to listen to each other. And sometimes some of the loudest speakers are the ones that are grieving a lot. And the ones that are silent are grieving even more. So I really take the approach of being empathetic, willing to listen to anybody, to hear other people's perspectives. And together, I know that we can get through this.
So I think it's important that we don't let kids fall through the cracks, per se, that we stay on top of the healing within the district and with our families. I think a really amazing program that should be modeled is 42 Strong. They've done an incredible job bringing these kids together, getting them a support system. I don't think you can really get much better than that. But aside from that, the district now has the advantage that we have the Resiliency Center and we have other grant programs in place for children to receive the help that they need, because we all know that this time is very crucial. Between 6 months and a year and a half is really the time that we need to pay attention. We cannot drop the ball on this, and that we, again, cannot let anyone slip through the cracks on this.
Michael?
As far as that's concerned, Brian mentioned coming together as a team, as a community, opening those lines of communication, but knowing, as Amanda mentioned, not letting anybody fall through the cracks, because we still know people are still really struggling with this, and some are still not at a point in that grieving and recovery process where they can open up still. And so we need to understand that everyone is at a different place in their grieving and recovery process. And I think we need to be vigilant about that for a long time, really, because you look at other school districts that have gone through this, and It's not something, yes, certainly within the first year is crucial, but it's not something people just walk away from, even after 20 years, right? But I'll throw a kudos to Buck. My son is in that 43 Strong program, and that's been awesome for that mentor-mentee program. And I'd like to maybe emulate something like that, or use, I don't know, someone.
Okay, Mary?
I think that our superintendent and our administrators have done an amazing job getting all these resources together and doing the research themselves. They have worked countless hours and don't sleep much, and they continue to do so to get every single resource into this district that they can. I think that all of us in this room, I think that all of us adults in this community also have a piece in this, and I think that I think it's important that we all treat each other with a little grace, a little acceptance, and help each other. Our kids model us. You know, our kids do what we do. So it's important as parents, families, and community members that we are also promoting the positive.
So, from what I can see, driving past the school, having their displays of remorse, and I'm not even sure what to call it, but there was a gazebo out there. Students had the ability to go see maybe pictures, whatever, but countless signs and ribbons around trees and lamp posts. And in my particular block in Oxford had all down the road there. So I'm seeing a lot of community support on that. And whether that's enough or not, I would let the experts tell us what's the mental health of the kids at this point and adults. So if I was on the board, I would keep a tab on that and find out, you know, are we getting better? We need more resources, whatever it is. But from what I can see right now, I think Ashby's doing an excellent job.
I can tell you one thing that my son really appreciates is the therapy dogs. But I think the social emotional learning programs, I've heard great things in elementary school with the Second Step program, helping the students to become more ready to learn by talking about how they're feeling first. And perhaps hiring a DEI coordinator, somebody to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. Full-time social worker in every building, and allowing them to see children that are not just for special education. We need to check in with these kids and really talk to them and see how they're healing and how their progress is going. Teachers can only do so much. They have a heavy load, and to be the social worker on top of it is just asking too much. Offering support groups, perhaps during the school day and after. I have a friend, an old co-worker who offered equine therapy support. She's willing to do it again, and I hope she does.
Okay, so I'll close out three quick things. Let's quit. First of all, thanks our timekeeper, Brad Jacobson. And then Justin Wilcock, Tom Hoover, and Karen Charles, thank you. And then I think it's pretty cool we have these great candidates up here, so please say thank you to them. And the last thing, there's a few people here. I said, Don Lush and the Oxford Leaders Group, I said, Don, he called me. I said it's an opportunity if you want to chit-chat with some of the candidates afterwards, so I'd encourage you to do so. You know, have a drink with them afterwards, maybe get them to spill the beans or something, as Don might say. There's also some former board members here. I see Mike Schwags here. Colleen Schultz is hiding in the back, so you can ask them some questions. And I won't mention Chad at all. But take a moment to chit-chat with some of the folks here and the candidates afterwards. But thank you very much for coming here. It's really great to see people do this. Thank you very much.
Go Wildcats.